Hello. Well, thank you so much for sitting and listening to these amazing people talk about what the future of leadership is. For our final panel, we're going to look at a slightly different aspect of leadership, which is networking and the power of networks, why we need them, how we can leverage them to help us in the future. And again, I have an amazing team of people up here on stage to do this. Blake, we'll start with you. Apart from Facebook, you are one of the leaders at one of the biggest social networks in the world, LinkedIn. Just tell us, when you look at LinkedIn now, it's over 1 billion people are on LinkedIn. How do you make it a meaningful network when there's 1 billion people on there? How should people use it? How do you use it to make it a real network?
So, hi everybody, I'm Blake. I'm an executive at LinkedIn. The question is, okay, how do I make LinkedIn real for me? I bet there's plenty of people in this room who use LinkedIn all the time. For me, what it's really about is a platform for opportunity. And it's an indirect platform for opportunity. Most of the value that you have in your professional life is not direct. It's not something, it's not the people that you see every day. The value of LinkedIn is you create a network of weak ties. So Andrew, after this panel, I will probably connect with you, and then we will have had this interaction, and we probably won't think about each other very much. I mean, maybe we will, but probably not.
Let's see how the next 20 minutes go.
All right, we'll see. It's kind of a little, I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. But the point is that somewhere down the line, if you and I have connected, if I am sharing on that platform, if I then become top of mind for you in a way, you may say, oh, actually, I have a problem out there that Blake could help me with. Or you may be connected with somebody. I may be looking for an introduction for an English company that I am not, I don't have in. And I didn't know, actually, that you went to school with the chief legal officer at this company. That's a way for me to basically make my network more transparent, your network more transparent, and it's the value of weak ties. A platform at scale like LinkedIn, if you're out there and you're learning, you're making those professional connections, and it provides you the opportunity to have the opportunities that you didn't know that you would have in a professional way. So you establish that professional reputation. Hopefully, you and I, again, I don't want to make this all about you and I, a little bit. So we have a relationship together, and we have lots of fond interactions with somebody that you don't think about very much, but that's incredibly powerful for individuals over the long run if they knew who that person was connected to, if they're reminded of that person at the right time when they have a professional problem to solve. So if nothing else, what it is, it's a way, of course, to establish your reputation, to get out there, your so-called professional brand, but even more, it's the power of the network of revealing through weak ties the hidden opportunities that you didn't know you had.
So just explain, when we talked earlier about the democratizing of intelligence becoming a little bit cheaper, for you, when it works best, is LinkedIn a way of me accessing your contacts book, of flattening out those connections that in the past could have been really difficult for somebody to find out and navigate? Do you hope that at its best, LinkedIn is a democratizing force as well for power and for learning and for education and for business?
100%. Look, I know everyone is talking about AI. I'm also talking about AI. I know that it's going to be a force multiplier and it's going to change things. But humans still care about humans. And one of the ways that they make decisions is based on the relationships they have, who they know, and who you see every day. In the old world, what happened was there was a huge amount of power at a country club, at a university, at an elite event. I like to think of LinkedIn as a platform for the scrappy. Because if you are out there and you put yourself out there and you connect with folks, all of a sudden, I didn't know you're gonna have access to somebody you would have never had access to before through somebody. And I didn't have to go to the right school or the right country club or the right World Government Summit in order to have that, because all of a sudden it's a flattening device, and it just hopefully is that platform where if you are out there and you're going to go for it and you're scrappy, all of a sudden that opportunity is to you no matter what your background and where you're from.
Well, we'll move on to Professor Soumitra Dutta, who's the Dean of the Saïd Business School. How many friends or how many links do you have on LinkedIn?
I think it was 26,000 or something like that.
Oh, it's pretty good. Okay, 26,000 is good.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Get approval from the LinkedIn itself.
I approve.
And can you leverage that network? Do you find it difficult? 26,000 people is a lot of people to read all their work updates.
It is tough, I must admit that, but I love LinkedIn, so I have to admit that also I approve the product. I think LinkedIn is great, but that's where AI can help. Because there's so much happening in the lives of all the people in a network, and some are strong, some are weak ties. It's almost impossible to keep up. But the value of these networks is undoubtedly there. I'll give you one simple example. Recently, we were having an alumni gathering, and we gave an award to senior alumnus for lifelong success. And in his acceptance speech, he said that he went and looked back at his career, and he actually tried to identify how many significant career transitions he had made over 40 years plus. And he identified 13 of them. And he said he actually then asked the question, how many of the transitions were made because of a close friend in the network, typically of the school that he graduated from. And he found 10 of the 13 were from close people in the network. So the power of networks is real. It actually helps people progress and make the most of their careers and talents.
When people come to the business school, do you think they realize that they're making these connections that will potentially carry them through all of their business career? Or is that just something that miraculously happens, that they make friendships that bind them going forwards? Do you encourage this connection between the alumni?
No, we actually encourage it, explicitly and implicitly, a variety of actions inside the school. But I'm not sure when you're 26, 28 years old, you fully realize that. And that's one reason why I always remind them that, look, your career is a long evolution of multiple transitions, and you never know who will actually help you at what stage of your career. And it's very important to invest in those relationships. Networks are not just built because you have a link on LinkedIn or on Facebook. Networks need investment. Human relationships are human. They need investment of time and emotion. So I think it's very important that we teach ourselves and our students and young people around us that building networks effectively is a lifelong journey, I would say.
Well, Selva Pankaj is the founder and CEO of the Regent Group, an extraordinary educational company with schools all around the world. Selva, we talked earlier on in the week, and what was interesting is, that we're talking about leadership and we're talking about AI, and I think that sometimes it throws the focus just onto growth and to profit and to how we're going to be bigger and better. You said to me the guiding principle of leadership, and we're here talking about leadership, the guiding principle of leadership in my organization is, what can I do for somebody else? Explain, because I think we'll come back to ethics maybe in a little while, because I think it's an important point, but tell me, as you run Regent Group, how this plays out on a day-to-day basis when you're making business decisions.
Thank you, Andrew. I think, as I said, it's all about giving, and I think even on the context of networking, this particular panel is as well. So it's not about what you can get, it's about what you can give. And when you have that mindset that you're here to give the best possible way you can, and something happens.
And just explain to people in the room, let's just give people a snapshot of the scale of Regent Group these days. How big are you?
I don't think we're that big. So we, in the UK, we are in higher education. So that's our main business. We are new to Dubai. And so we have over 10,000 students, about 4,000 students here with 1,000. I think it's a question of whether we are big or small. It's what impact that we can make in people's life. We are a family-owned business. We'll continue to be family-owned. But however, in the AI space, it'll be slightly different because we're going to teach the machines, as I call it. So coming back to it, it's about who you are. Be authentic, and then something happens. And to what extent the platforms that we're referring with Blake as well, how you can express that from a digital context, I don't know.
And just tell me, the same as Saïd Business School, is the notion of the alumni, the connection between students, how you make them into their own network, is that important to you as well?
It's central. I mean,
I was sorry for Selva. Just saying the same for you is for the alumni that you have from your schools. Do you try to make them into a network as well?
Of course, because what we really teach our students, or share the student teaching, might be too strong word. We can only share ideas with students, and we believe in end result of education is character. So when you do that, and then the students understand that, and then they go and do what they can do. So, but it's a position of giving. But I think in my schooling days, I don't think anybody told me it's about giving. It was about taking. You got to go and get her. I mean, they never said go and give her. So therefore, I think there is a piece, and then you see in this part of the world, in Dubai, how much they give soon as we come here. So there's something, power of giving is something that we all need to think about.
Professor, when we think about the business school and we think about businesses, you've talked about the fact that actually networks need to be more important, that we're still stuck in a world where companies, where businesses think in terms of supply chains. So they know all the relationships. It's very simple to manage a supply chain. You know who's got the power, who's signing this contract. But in the rapidly changing work world we're in now, where we've spoken this afternoon about in healthcare, how all these different groups come together. Suddenly a supermarket is involved in healthcare. There's maybe a person delivering out in the field who's a healthcare worker. There's a big pharma. They've all got to interconnect. How important is it, do you think, to try and manage this shift of thinking more in terms of networks rather than supply chains?
No, Andrew, I think you've touched upon, I think, the biggest challenge that we face in business schools in general, education in general. I think our thinking, our structure are very siloed. And even professors, for example, typically do their work and research and teach in more siloed-based subjects. And today we look at the world's biggest challenges, be it food, water, any of the big challenges. It requires a systemic thinking. It requires multiple actors across multiple networks coming together to solve some of these issues as best as possible. And that's a kind of a change which is a very deep cultural change inside the organization, which we are trying to actually make inside the school. So you need faculty more willing to embrace different perspectives, not just in the business school, but outside the business school, across the university. You need students who are much more comfortable working with other students in other different disciplines. You need to actually change the way they look at problem solution and solution creation in a much more systemic point of view. So we have special courses, like, for example, Map the System, in which we get people together, different perspectives, and force them to think in a broad systemic way. This is an ongoing process of change that is really deep and fundamental, I think, to our futures.
Blake, you have contact with the leaders of just about every senior business, every key business in the world, in every sector. When you're talking to CEOs, to business leaders, and we're talking about this change, whether it's how organizations are run through networks, it's by business management, what are the things that are coming up that you see as the key motivators for change at the moment?
So, yes, everybody, I'm going to be you say we're the last panel?
We're the last panel, so you can cheer us up or send us home.
So I expect every panel talked about AI today, right? So I'm going to close us out here and continue to talk about AI, because when you're talking to CEOs, that is certainly top of mind. But the reason it's top of mind is because they know it's going to change their organizations. They know it's going to change how people work, and they don't know quite yet what's next. So and obviously these are CEOs, they're smart people, and a lot of executives are trying to say, okay, I know a change is coming, how do I prepare my organization to thrive? And like everyone else, I don't necessarily have the answer. If we move to a 2-day work week, I'll have 5 more days to think about it. But and maybe we will, and maybe we won't. But what I do think is going to happen, and from the last panel, I do think that the human skills and of what networking is a part are going to be some of the things that the sort of computers can't replace. There are going to be some tasks that are automated. There are going to be a set of tasks and skills where if you get good at these tools, it's going to be a way where you can be more creative, more innovative, more productive. And then there's going to be a set of just human stuff, whether it's network, leadership, empathy. Like, I think the winners in the next, I don't know what the time frame is, but the next bit is going to be the people who win in the relationship economy. The people who, like my friend over here said, he said authentic. He said, how do you create connection and relationship with people so that they will want to work with you? If the bots can do all this stuff, how do you stand out? How do you differentiate? And I think you have to do it through humanity. And so what that means exactly, I'm not sure. But I think that those are the companies that, and organizations and governments and people that are going to win because everybody else is going to want to work with them.
We're going to steal just 90 seconds at the end. I hope that's okay with the team. Just quickly, Selva, you gave an example. We're here, World Government Summit. You said to me, Dubai is the perfect example of like a living network. It's a country where people want to make connections, where people want to do business, where people want to know you. You're based here. Is this a prime example? Is this a place where networks work?
I think I'm sure lots of other countries do as well, but Dubai is definitely giving that incremental view of people can come and do things. Now I live in England, but I also live here in the US. So I think Dubai definitely has got that edge, particularly from the government perspective. I think there's something unique about the government works here and willing for anybody to come and thrive, which perhaps in the older governments in the Western world, it's helped by businesses, not necessarily by government. So I think that's something unique in this part of the world.
Well, we've got 3 very serious people, so I'm going to ask them to do something that's not very serious, just in 10 seconds each for each of you. We're trying to leave everybody with a thought as they leave this room. This is the last panel. I know that none of you are soundbite guys, but here goes. Professor Soumitra, what would be your soundbite? What would be your encouragement for people in this room when they leave to make sure that they don't just walk out of here and go and get a coffee and forget this? What do they need to hold in their brain as they leave here?
Well, everyone out here is a leader in his or her own right, and I think my message would be think in systemic change. Don't just think in narrow, siloed terms.
Selva.
I think we should keep our thoughts, our feelings, and actions in harmony. When you do that, life becomes a joy.
Blake.
I know most of you aren't doing it, but spend a little more time on LinkedIn. Go ahead and share. It's okay.
Let's see how many connection requests you have after this panel. I'm Andrew Tuck. I'm the Editor Chief of Monocle. It's been an absolute honor to host this last hour. When you're a moderator, the most exciting thing is to leave stage thinking you learned something yourself and you met great people. And having an audience that was engaged and connected and listening. So thank you to you as well.